Donovan Reed's heart pounded as he floated in the cockpit of his ship, resolute, staring at the massive alien fleet emerging from hyperspace. Hundreds of sleek, angular vessels surrounded Earth, their dark hulls reflecting the pale glow of the moon. His hands tightened around the controls, the enormity of the situation settling like a weight on his chest. The Zolara had arrived, and they weren't here to negotiate. A sharp crackle interrupted the silence in his earpiece. "Commander Reed, do you copy? The Zolara are demanding immediate surrender." Donovan inhaled deeply, forcing calm into his voice. "Patch them through." The screen flickered, revealing the cold, reptilian eyes of the Zolara commander, its scales shimmering under the dim light of its bridge. "Humans," the Zolara's voice rasped, dripping with disdain. "You will surrender your planet and submit to our rule. Resistance is futile." Donovan's jaw clenched. He knew the Zolara's reputation, an apex predator species that had conquered countless worlds, enslaving every race they deemed inferior. To them, Earth was just another planet, its inhabitants mere prey. But Donovan wasn't about to let them win without a fight. "You underestimate us," Donovan replied, his tone icy. "We've faced extinction before and survived. We won't bow to you." The Zolara commander hissed, its lips curling into a sneer. "Your defiance will only prolong your suffering. Submit now, and we may grant you a quick death." Donovan's gaze shifted to the holographic display of Earth's defenses, hidden installations scattered across the planet, armed with advanced weaponry developed in secret. He had to buy time for those defenses to activate, to catch the Zolara off guard. "I'll consider your offer," Donovan said, keeping his voice neutral. "But first, let's discuss terms." The Zolara's eyes narrowed. "You have 1 hour." The transmission cut off, and Donovan exhaled, tension coiling tighter in his chest. He activated the ship's secure communication link, connecting to Earth's defense network. "This is Commander Reed. All stations, prepare for immediate engagement. Do not fire until my signal." As he waited for the defenses to power up, Donovan's mind raced. The Zolara's arrogance was their weakness. They expected an easy conquest, not a fight. He intended to exploit that, but it was a gamble. One wrong move, and Earth would fall. The minutes ticked by, each second stretching Donovan's nerves taut. Finally, the green lights on his console blinked to life. Earth's defenses were online. "Commander," a voice crackled through the comms. "We're ready." Donovan's lips curled into a grim smile. "Then let's show these bastards what happens when they underestimate humanity." He sent the signal, and in an instant, the night sky above Earth lit up with a barrage of energy beams, missiles, and railgun fire. The Zolara ships, caught off guard, wavered under the unexpected assault. Donovan's heart raced as he watched the first Zolara ship explode in a fiery ball of debris. But this was only the beginning. The real battle had just begun. As the Zolara fleet regrouped, their response was swift and brutal. The Resolute shuddered under the impact of enemy fire, alarms blaring throughout the cockpit. Donovan gritted his teeth, steering the ship through the chaos, narrowly avoiding a barrage of plasma shots. "This is just the start," Donovan muttered to himself, determination hardening his resolve. "We'll make them regret ever thinking they could take us." Outside, the battle raged on, Earth's forces fighting with a ferocity that surprised even Donovan. But deep down, he knew this was only the first wave. The Zolara wouldn't stop until they had crushed every last human. And he wouldn't stop until they realized just how dangerous their prey could be. The final transmission of the chapter comes as a chilling reminder. This is humanity's last stand. We either survive, or we become their next meal. Donovan's fingers flew over the controls, his mind calculating a dozen maneuvers at once as the Resolute ducked and weaved through the battlefield. Explosions lit up the darkness, each flash revealing the relentless advance of the Zolara fleet. Earth's defenses were holding, but only just. They needed to shift the tide, and fast. "Status report," Donovan barked, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Shields at 40%, Commander." His tactical officer, Lieutenant Kara Hayes, responded. Her tone was clipped, professional, yet Donovan could sense the underlying tension. We've taken out 15 enemy ships, but they're adapting. Their countermeasures are getting tougher. Donovan gritted his teeth. The Zolara weren't just formidable. They were smart, learning from each skirmish and adjusting their tactics with terrifying efficiency. But humanity had one advantage: their unpredictability. Hayes, reroute auxiliary power to the forward shields. Prepare for close-quarter combat, Donovan ordered, his plan forming in the back of his mind. We're taking the fight to them. Hayes's eyes widened, but she didn't question him. Aye, sir. Forward shields at maximum. All systems green. Good. Target the lead cruiser and prepare for evasive maneuvers on my mark, Donovan instructed, his gaze locked on the largest Zolara vessel looming ahead. It was a behemoth of steel and plasma, bristling with weapons and the likely command ship of this fleet. As the Resolute charged forward, the Zolara ships reacted, their formation shifting to counter the unexpected assault. Donovan smirked. They were predictable, almost rigid in their strategies. It would be their downfall. Now! He shouted. The Resolute dived, cutting a sharp arc beneath the Zolara cruiser's belly. Plasma fire grazed their shields, but Donovan ignored it, focusing instead on the precise moment when they'd be in position. Launch torpedoes! The ship shuddered as the torpedoes fired, streaking toward the cruiser's underbelly. Seconds later, a massive explosion rocked the battlefield, the cruiser splitting apart in a cascade of debris. Cheers erupted on the bridge, but Donovan remained grim. This was only one victory in a much larger war. Commander, enemy ships are retreating, Hayes reported, disbelief tinged with hope. We did it! Donovan shook his head. Not yet. They're regrouping. This was just a test, and we passed it. His eyes narrowed as he watched the remaining Zolara ships pulling back, regrouping for another strike. But we need to be ready for their next move. They'll hit harder. As the Zolara fleet regrouped in the distance, the sense of impending doom hung heavy in the air. Donovan knew they were far from safe. The battle had just begun, and the real test of humanity's resilience was yet to come. The Resolute floated in the uneasy silence of space, the crew catching their breath after the intense skirmish. Donovan's eyes were fixed on the tactical display, where the Zolara fleet hovered at the edge of the battlefield. Their retreat had been too orderly, too deliberate. They were preparing for something bigger. Commander, Lieutenant Hayes's voice cut through the tension. Scanners are picking up energy signatures. Multiple, concentrated. Looks like they're charging their primary weapons. Donovan's heart skipped a beat. The Zolara were done testing them. This next attack would be all or nothing. He could almost feel the weight of Earth's fate resting on his shoulders. He had to think, and fast. Hayes, get me a readout of their formation, Donovan ordered, his mind racing. The Zolara had clustered into a tight, almost impenetrable phalanx, designed to concentrate their firepower and shield their command ships. It was a strategy meant to overwhelm. But every strategy had a flaw. See those gaps between their heavy cruisers? Donovan pointed to the display, narrowing his eyes as he analyzed the pattern. They're focusing on offense, leaving their flanks exposed. Hayes nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. We could hit them there, disrupt their formation. But our firepower alone won't be enough. We don't need firepower, Donovan replied, a plan crystallizing in his mind. We need to make them think we've got more firepower than we do. He turned to the communications officer. Get me a direct line to Earth's surface. Patch me through to General Warren at the Defense Command. Moments later, the gruff voice of General Warren filled the cockpit. Reed, we're barely holding the line down here. What's your status? We've got a window, General. I need you to prepare every orbital defense platform for a full salvo. Target the Zolara's rear flank, but wait for my signal. We'll make them think they're facing a lot more firepower than they actually are. Warren hesitated, then grunted in approval. Understood. Give the word, and we'll let loose. Donovan turned back to the crew, his voice steady. We're going to bait them into overcommitting. When they move to counter, we hit them where it hurts. Hayes, bring us about, full power to engines. As the Resolute sped toward the Zolara fleet, the tension in the air was palpable. The crew knew they were walking a razor's edge, but they trusted Donovan, and each other. Ready on my mark, Donovan muttered, eyes locked on the growing mass of enemy ships. 3, 2, 1. Now! The Resolute fired its entire arsenal at the exposed flank, just as Earth's platforms unleashed their payloads. For a heartbeat, the battlefield was ablaze with light and energy, the Zolara caught off guard by the sheer ferocity of the attack. The enemy formation wavered, gaps appearing as they scrambled to regroup. Donovan seized the moment. All ships, full assault! Break their lines! The Resolute surged forward, leading the charge. For the first time, the Zolara were on the defensive, reeling from the unexpected blow. But Donovan knew the real battle was just beginning. The Zolara would adapt, as they always did. The question was, could humanity adapt faster? The Resolute plunged through the chaos of the battlefield, the once daunting Zolara fleet now in disarray. Donovan's calculated strike had crippled their formation, but he knew this was the moment that would define the outcome. Commander, Hayes called out, her voice tense. Zolara vessels are regrouping. They're moving to encircle us. Donovan's mind raced. The Zolara had always been relentless, adapting quickly to new tactics. If they succeeded in surrounding the Resolute, Earth's last hope would be snuffed out. He had to make a final, decisive move. Open a channel to all ships, Donovan ordered. His voice was steady, but the weight of his responsibility pressed down on him. This is it, everyone. We push forward with everything we have. No retreat. We'll break their lines and punch through their command ships. We end this now. A chorus of affirmations filled the bridge as the crew prepared for the final assault. The air was thick with tension, but there was no fear, only determination. Donovan could feel it, the unspoken resolve of humanity's last defenders. They would not falter. Target their flagship, Donovan instructed. We take out their command, and the rest will crumble. The Resolute surged ahead, leading the charge as the fleet converged on the Zolara's central ships. The enemy, now desperate, fired everything they had, but Donovan had already anticipated their tactics. He ordered evasive maneuvers, weaving through the barrage with precision. As they closed in, the Zolara flagship loomed before them, a massive, ominous presence in the void. Donovan could see the energy build up within its core, its final weapon, designed to obliterate everything in its path. Captain, the flagship is charging its primary cannon, Hayes warned, her fingers dancing over the controls. It's going to fire! Not if we hit it first, Donovan replied, his voice hard. Divert all power to the main cannon. Focus fire on their core. The ship trembled as energy was rerouted to the main cannon, the hum of the reactor growing louder. The tension was palpable, every second stretching into eternity. Donovan's eyes were locked on the tactical display, watching the distance close, feeling the seconds slip away. Fire! He commanded. The Resolute unleashed its full power, a brilliant beam of energy lancing through the void. It struck the Zolara flagship dead center, punching through its shields and into its core. For a heartbeat, everything was silent. Then the enemy ship erupted in a cataclysmic explosion, the shockwave rippling through space. Cheers erupted across the Resolute, but Donovan remained focused. The Zolara fleet, now leaderless and in chaos, began to retreat. They had done it. They had won. But as Donovan looked out at the wreckage, he knew the victory had come at a cost. The Zolara would return, perhaps stronger, perhaps more cunning. But for now, humanity had shown them what it meant to face an apex predator. They had proven that they would not be so easily extinguished.